Hello, my name is Father Ed Nadonley from the Father Nadonley Good News Fund. And the show is really a show about you. So if you'd like to call in and give me a call, just to talk, call me at 860-321-7405. That's 860-321-7405. And whatever topic you'd like to talk about. I'd like to talk, first of all, about Kobe Bryant, the great basketball player from the Los Angeles Lakers. I had a friend of mine who went out to California, and he bought a helicopter, a small one. And he flew it all the way from California to Connecticut. And one day, he took his nephew out for a ride in the helicopter. But it was foggy. And something happened, and he crashed, and he died, and the young man died too. I couldn't help thinking that as Kobe Bryant had the same experience. None of the police were going up with the helicopter. It was grounded because of the clouds and the fog. I goes the fog. And yet they went up. And I couldn't help comparing both accidents of my friend and Mr. Kobe Bryant because of the fog. And yet everybody else stayed on the ground. So we can't think about, I'm thinking about his daughter. I'm thinking about his wife now. The whole family is in chaos. But that's just one example. I also go over to the prisons, Walker Prison, on Wednesday, and I have Mass. And I see so many prisoners. All of them belong there, and yet none of them belong there. And some of them are going to stay there for the rest of their lives. 45 years, 60 years, 40 years. Yes, they all belong there, but none of them belong there. And I always give the example of a man came in before confession, and he said, do you know who I am? And I said, no, all you guys look the same to me. And he smiled. He said, I'm the one that killed Father Slish over at St. Matthew's in Forestville a few years back. And I said, what happened? He said, I'm schizophrenic. I didn't get into a shelter. I went to see a priest, but he wasn't in. So I went to see this priest, but I didn't have my medication. So I started to hallucinate, and I became paranoid, and I thought he was coming after me with others. So I took a candlestick and hit him over the head to knock him out, but he killed him. Does he belong there? Yes. He's got 60 years. He'll die there. But if he had his medication, he wouldn't have been there. So often we find that when you look at the lives of these prisoners, and I go there every week, and I get to know them, and they all belong there. But a man who owns a construction company really doesn't belong there. A man who just got out of Harvard, third year at Harvard, he belongs there, but he doesn't belong there. A man who has a landscape business, he belongs there, but he doesn't belong there. Maybe you know somebody who's in there because of a burglary or murder or drugs or whatever. Share your story with me. Call me at 860-321-7405. 860-321-7405. So if you could just give me a call, let me know. If you know of anybody in prison, and why are they in prison? Are they in there because of drugs? Is it because of robbery, larceny? Is it because of murder, rape, child abuse? If you have somebody in your family, or you know somebody who's in prison? Now, they all belong there, but none of the ones that I know, none of them belong there. If they didn't start on marijuana or some other drug, and they would be around outside and not inside. And the other point is that one of the problems of incarceration is 7 out of 10 of them come back within 5 years. and only 3 out of 10 stay out. I know why people come back, because the environment, no jobs, addicted, and no family support. So I know a lot of the reasons, but I always wonder, why do some of them not come back? And my first, I had a group of fellows, they were at McDougal. I usually go to Walker in Suffield. This was in McDougal. And I said, why is it that 3% or 30% of you aren't going to come back? And it was interesting. I said, give me one word. One fellow said faith, another person said love, another said hope. Those are the theological virtues. And then they said a job and change of environment. But I was surprised that only if they have a strong religious foundation will they be able to make it out there. And they have to get a job. And they have to have family support. But if you don't have family support, you don't have a job, and you don't have a strong spiritual foundation, you'll be back in a few years. So my telephone number is 860-321-7405, and I'll drink to that. My next topic is hospitals. I've been working at a St. Francis Hospital probably for about 5 weeks, only on Sunday and Mondays. But I average about maybe 50 or 60 or 70 patients, depends how long it takes. Sometimes it takes a long time to get in the yellow dress, and that's a protection for you, and put the blue gloves on. It takes a long time. But if you don't have to put on all those protective measures, it doesn't take a long time to get in there. And I find all kind of people. The ones that upset me most of all are when I walk in, they said, "Are you still alive?" Or somebody comes and say, "Are you still around?" So I've been around for 60 years as a priest, and going on 61. And the people I get most upset about are those who are all right. Like I saw a buddy of mine, a classmate, he was perfectly okay one day. Next day he's got a stroke, and he'll never be normal again. Those sudden changes in a person, that upsets me. The other one are to see a fellow, an alcoholic or a drug addict, going through detoxing, and how they shake. All the others upset me, but those two upset me once more. I'll tell you an interesting story. There's a lady in the hospital. I've been there for quite a few weeks. I went in there, and I just get a list of Catholics, and I go from room to room for Catholics. And I walked in to see her, and I said, "Well, can I give you Holy Communion?" She said, "No, get out of here." So, okay. So I went out. Next week, she's still there. And I walk in, I said, "Hey, you're still here." And she threw me out again. She does. So yesterday, what's today, Monday, Sunday, I said, "Oh my God, the lady's still there." I never asked what the problem is, none of my business. So I walked in there and I said, "Before you throw me out, let me know why you believe in Jesus, you believe in his real presence, and yet you don't go to church." Her first jump was, "Well, a pedophile priest." And I said, we're less than 5%. And 1 out of 3 girls are abused in family by the father, by the brother, by the uncle, by the babysitter, or someone. 1 out of 3. And what is 1 out of 5 boys, too. So you're going to get rid of all the fathers, get rid of all the brothers, get rid of all the uncles, or the aunts. It happens with women, too. And so she looked at, I said, "What's the other room?" She said, "I don't like the music in church." And I said, "Sometimes I don't like it either." But she goes to get entertained, and that's the sad part. She didn't go to church to give. She went to entertain, to be entertained. I don't go to church to be entertained. I go to church to worship. So finally, though, I got her to go to confession. I call it trifecta: confession, communion, and confirmation. And what amazes me, going through the hospital, it's normal for me to find a fellow who hasn't gone to confession for 40 years, 30 years, 25 years, or 15 years, or a woman also. The first thing I ask when I come into a room, I say, "Could I give you the sacrament of the sick?" When you hear of the last sacrament, they panic. But the reason why it's called the last sacrament is confession, communion, confirmation, marriage, holy orders, and I left out one, baptism. The last sacrament is the sacrament of the sick. That's why they call it the last sacrament. It's not a sacrament for the dying, it's for the sick. And I tell the people, if you're dying, don't call me. Just call me when you're sick. So I go around from room to room, and I was so happy to see this lady who hadn't gone to church for a long time because she wanted to be entertained. And yet she believed in the real presence of Christ. And that really upset me, that we go to church to be entertained. We don't go to church to be worshiped. And speaking of worship, there's a song, a poem that I try to read at funerals. And, if you go to a cemetery, you see James Jones, born 1940, dying in 2000. Okay, 60 years. That's a short time, a drop in the bucket of eternity. By the way, before I go on to this poem, if you're listening, give me a call at 860-321-7405. My name is Father Ed Nadolny from the Father Nadolny Good News Fund. You might be seeing some of my billboards with my name and my telephone number on it. That's because I'm very humble. So we get about 2 million people, cars going by our billboards on a monthly basis. But my point is to help people pray. That's the primary purpose. When people call up and say, "What do you got those billboards up there for?" I said, "To get you to pray." And a lot of them call up with a problem. It may be a marriage problem, maybe a drug problem, maybe a money problem, it may be a child problem, maybe a health problem, all kinds of things. It's a parish without boundaries. But when in the hospital, and when I go to a funeral, now we're getting on some funerals. I love funerals because I know how the people are going to end up. Weddings, I'm not too sure. I'd rather go to a funeral than to a wedding because I know the future of the deceased, probably heaven, maybe in purgatory for a while. I don't think in hell. But as far as a marriage, 1 out of 2 marriages break up. So I'd rather really go have a funeral than have a marriage. But when I talk to the people about the funeral, when I go to a funeral, there's one song or poem that I read that really, I think, is a great meditation for all of us. But I would just go to the cemetery and go from monument to monument and just add up the years. 80 years, 70 years, 25 years, 20 years overdose, maybe 100 years, maybe 90 years. When I go to the hospital, the average person is in their 80s. So 80 years, that's not a very long time when you look at eternity. So the great meditation for each one of us is to go to a cemetery and say, how much time will there be on my monument? Like I was born in 1933. How much time will it be 2025? This year it'll be what? I'll be 87. So maybe 2023, my parents died at 90. Well, I lived that long. So it's a great meditation that our life is really nothing else than a short dash in eternity. So I'm going to read this a poem for you. In the meantime, if you'd like to call me, the phones are quiet, and I feel very rejected and abandoned. And so I'd ask that you would give me a call to let me know that you're alive and you're listening. The telephone number is 860-321-7405. My name is Father Ed Nadolny from the Father Nadolny Good News Fund. Okay? Well, let me just read to you this poem, The Dash, a poem by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came her date of her birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth. And not only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live in love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what is true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect, and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, when your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? That's a real eye-opener to think about it, how short our life is. I had a funeral, when was it? Saturday in Waterbury. I have a funeral in Thomaston Thursday. And I walked in there. The priest couldn't get anybody, so when they can't get anybody, they call me. And I walked in, I said, I don't know any of you, I've never met any of you, and most of you will probably be happy not to see me again. But we had a wake service, and I was able to get them to tell me something about the deceased. I know he was Catholic, I know he was baptized, I know he became a child of God, I know he got God's life, the Blessed Trinity, sanctifying grace. I know he got a gift of faith. I know he became a priest. He celebrated, and only a priest gives the sacrament of marriage to someone. He gave it to his wife, and a priest can bless. And I know that he was a prophet, a witness of Christ. So I asked him to give me 10 qualities of the man, that was deceased man. And they did. In fact, they gave me a Lithuanian dozen, 13. And I integrated that into my homily, whatever you want to call it. And then later on, the son got up and gave a eulogy. And he told how he didn't talk to his father for 15 years. The father was an alcoholic and an infidelity. So the whole family turned against the father. But somehow, 15 years later, he was reconciled with the father. But he talked about how difficult it is to forgive in a family life, how difficult it is to forgive with the father, and how bitter so much of the family remained because of his drinking and his infidelity. So when you look at his life, he was only probably 61. So let's see, let's subtract 2020 from 61, that's 9, 11, so 59, 1959, he was born. In fact, that's the year that I was ordained. Wow. And that's all it was, 60 1 years, 61 years. He was born in 1959. Just a dash in a person's life. And in your life, how long is your dash going to be? Are you going to live to 80, 90, 100? How long are you going to live? Give me a call. How long would you like to live? How long would you really like to live? A number is 860-321-7405. 860-321-7405. So if you're there and the phone's working, give me a call. Now, when we talk about death, we also have to talk about marriage. And I said I'd rather go to a funeral than I would to a wedding. I would tell you, one day a grandfather called me up and he said, Father, if I pay for the wedding rather, my niece will get married in the church. So I went down to Saybrook on a Friday night. We had the rehearsal, and I was starving. And they come out, they all go to the reception hall, and nobody invites me. And I go across the street and buy a hot dog. Saturday comes along, and again, we have the ceremony, and I have the marriage certificate in my hand, and I'm standing outside with the reception people walking by. And then the best man takes the marriage certificate, they go off, and I go and buy myself a hot dog. So you see that priests or ministers are just used. They have a function, but we're not really alive. And I was having lunch today with a doctor at St. Francis Hospital, and I said, how are things changed with the patients? He said, they have this attitude of entitlement. They deserve for you to take care of them. There isn't a thank you or appreciation. It's like going into a McDonald's and buying a hamburger and saying nothing to the girl who gave you the hamburger because you feel you're paying for it, so you're entitled. So you're paying this doctor, so you feel entitled that he should serve you. And the patient-doctor relationship now is much different. Not only on the part of the doctor's side, they throw you in every 15 minutes so they can make their money, but also on the patient side. They just expect a doctor as a functionary to get them well again. Yeah, entitlement is one of the great sins of our society, where you feel. In the meantime, if you'd like to talk to me, call me at 860-321-7405. My name is Father Ed Nadonley from the Father Nadonley Good News Fund. So if you can, and if the phone is working, let me know. And so we got my dash done. Now there's another thing I'd like to talk to you about, are your fears. Oh, by the way, I'm giving these pictures out, if anybody wants it, of the Divine Mercy. I don't know how well it can be seen. Jesus, and you see the gray or the white symbolizes the baptism. A new life comes from baptism. And the red symbolizes Christ's death. Our salvation comes with Christ and through Christ. And if anybody would want one of these, I have some extras. Just give me a call after the show, or call me on my cell phone, 860-335-2342. That's my cell phone. But my phone here at the studio is 203-321. No, I'm sorry, 860-321-7405. Okay? I wish that Dr. Let's see, who I asked, Beth Kaufman would call. I wish Sister Pat would call. I wish that Donna, the pharmacist, and the nutritionist would call. That's why I asked quite a few people to call, but I guess they're watching another channel at this time. And one of the things that I like to talk about is fears. And just looking at my watch, I'm fear that the time is going by too quickly. I have a book called Starve Your Fears. Now, if you ask people if they have any fears, you'd be amazed. My big fear is dogs. I got bit by a dog when I was a young child, and I never got over it. And once you have that traumatic experience, that fear is there, no matter how big or how small the dog is. So we all have fears. And the question is, how do we starve our fears so that they will leave us? And here's a couple principles. If faced with anxiety due to an uncomfortable situation, learn to say, this is interesting, and I'll handle it. So when I see a dog coming to me, the way I try to handle it, say, boy, this dog is interesting, and I think I can handle it. I used to run across the street and go on the other side of the street, but I say to myself, oh, that's an interesting dog. I think I can handle it. So what is the anxiety due to an uncomfortable situation in your life? Is it an in-law? Is it a health problem? Is it a financial problem? Is it a marriage problem? What anxiety puts you in, caused by an uncomfortable situation? And you learn to say, this is interesting, and I'll handle it. There are a lot of in-laws that are outlaws. I find one of the biggest problems in married life is the fact of the division in families, where brothers and sisters don't talk to each other because mommy left the money to this one and not to that one. Or in-laws don't talk to they're all outlaws because of a background of one person or the other. I have a situation right now that a young man just realized that he was molested by his father when he was a young boy. That caused a tremendous amount of anxiety and because of this uncomfortable situation. So he just can't say, this is interesting, and I'll handle it. Well, how is he going to handle the realization that his father abused him when he was 7 years old? That's an example of anxiety because of an uncomfortable situation. When you become a young adult and find out that your father abused you, or a young woman finds out that she was abused by her uncle or somebody. It's not easy to say, that's interesting, and I think I can handle it. But I think for lesser stressful, uncomfortable situations, you can say, oh, that's interesting, I can handle it. Like if there's an argument in a family, and it goes on and goes on, and you see that they're wrong, and you can say, that's interesting, but I can handle it. Okay? Instead of saying the words, I'm worried, change them to, I'm concerned. People are always worried. I'm worried about the virus over in China right now that's starting to show up in the United States. It's starting to show up all over the country. I'm nervous about that. And I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the fact that young boys don't want to become priests. I'm worried about the fact that 1 out of 2 marriages end up in divorce. I'm worried about the fact that the fellows in prison are going to end up come back within 5 years. Yes, we all have a wonderful number of worries, or a terrible number of worries. Each one of us has. But we turn around and can say, instead of I'm worried, I'm concerned. And that's a little different attitude, a much more positive attitude. I'm concerned about the virus in China. I'm concerned about a lot more people who died from the flu than they will from the virus from China. Yes, I'm concerned that young people are starting to smoke vaporizing with their vapor, ruining their lungs. Now, to be worried about that is your worry concerns you. When worry really conquers you or controls you. But to be concerned is where you're in control. And that worry controls you. But concern, you're in control of that concern. And that takes away some fear. Learn to retrain your mind with positive thoughts and outcomes. Expect the best out of the situations instead of thinking of them as anxiety-producing events. In other words, always say, well, the bottle is always half full, instead of saying it's half empty. So the bottle is half full and not half empty. Yes, positive thoughts. You know, you can, and it's a beautiful part when you go to a funeral and a wake, you want positive thoughts about the person. And you can turn around and have negative thoughts, and it produces a negative feelings and a negative attitude. So stop reliving and retelling your negative experiences. How many times, I get this all the time in the hospital. So when I was in kindergarten, that nun hit me. And the guy's 70 years old, he's still talking about it. Or when I was in church, that priest yelled at me. And living and retelling the negative experiences. This only feeds the anxiety, which is detrimental to your progress. And I get that so often when I go to the hospital and visit patients. Oh, Father, you should know this priest. We should know that sister. I said, did you graduate from that school? Yeah. Did you go on to college? Yeah. Did you end up getting a good job? Yeah. And you're emphasizing that one situation. And you've been talking about it for 60 years. So stop reliving and retelling your negative experiences. And I get that with divorces. People keep reliving divorce. I say that past is history, left in God's mercy. The future is mystery, left in God's redemption. And the only thing that really remains is the present moment. So instead of reliving the past, live the present moment. And that's where you find God. You don't find God in the past. And a lot of people just live in the past. Their whole life is nothing else than living the past. But God doesn't live in the past. God lives in the present moment. So if you got a phone call, call me at 860-321-7405. This water is great. I forgot to tell you, I remember I had a show one day, and I mentioned to the fellow that I could use a martini. And what happened after the show, he came all the way from Burlington, and he brought me a martini. He didn't know that I never drink except for water. Water and tea, and water, tea, and milk. I been drinking this tea. It's called brain food. It's a combination of green tea and other ingredients. And it's supposed to really enhance your brain and also your memory. So I've been drinking that, and I drink milk, what I do, organic 1% milk. And that's supposed to be good, because it depends where the cows are eating. And then I also eat blueberries, organic blueberries, because there's so much toxic stuff going on in the blueberries. But organic don't have any of those impurities like there are in the normal blueberries. And the best thing that's safe is a banana, because there's no contamination. You have to take the pill off of there. So eating bananas is great, because and oranges too. You rip off the cover of the orange, and you got the orange as it is. So those are protective fruits from toxin things hitting them. Okay, let's get back to my starving your fears. Stop reliving and retelling your negative experiences. This only feeds the anxiety, which is detrimental to your progress. So stop living the past. I see that with people who are divorced. They come together when the children are having a celebration, and they don't talk to each other, or they sit in the other room. And so they both are imprisoned by the fear of the other person. And they're reliving it. Well, he did this, he was unfaithful, he was an alcoholic, she beat me, or whatever it is. And they just live in the past. Are you that kind of a person? You live in the past, but God isn't in the past. God is in the present moment. Replace the words "too hard for me" to "this is a challenge that I will get through." How many times you give up before trying? I've been trying to get this show, Tolton, from slave to priest. I had it 15 times so far, and I'm trying to get it 5 more times in this area, in parishes or schools. I have 3 so far, but I'm having a hard time getting the other 2. But, I can turn around, this is too hard for me, I can give up. Or I can say, this is a challenge I will get through. I'll keep on hustling and trying, making telephone calls and visiting until I get those 5 shows in this area. But you can say, well, this is too hard for me. I'm too old, so why should I keep on trying? The only time you fail is when you don't try. You may not be successful, but as long as you're trying, that's why I feel so good about that woman who threw me out of her room twice. And the 3rd time we brought Christ and the sacraments to her. They're not problems, they're challenges. When you look at all these problems that you have, they're really challenges. The problem of money, the problem of bills. They're too hard to keep up with, and you walk away. They're challenges. One way of getting rid of fear, starving your fear, change the word from too hard to a challenge. Don't use words like difficult, hard, stressful, painful, etc. Instead of having a negative attitude, have a positive attitude. As long as you have the negative attitude, you would have a lot of fear. And those words really feed fear, not starving fear. So instead of saying difficult, you say possible. Instead of hard, say challenging. Instead of stressful, easy. Painful, painless, etc. You can take all those words and lift the stress of the words. Because words oftentimes really end up causing the stress. Change I can't to I can. I can't do that. I can't do that. Change that to I can. As long as you say I can't do that, then the stress is there. But starving fear, I can, and I can. And unless you change from I can't to I can, that fear is there. You're not starving the fear, but feeding the fear when you say I can't. I can't, I can't. So I don't think the phones are working because I have four people who are supposed to call in, unless they're watching television somewhere else. They'll be excommunicated if they are. But that's okay. This is a challenge. I'm doing a show by myself. And after a while, I'll start talking to myself. I remember when I went on retreat for 30 days, it was a silent retreat, and I walked in, and the first thing they did, they took my cell phone. So I couldn't use the cell phone. So for the next 30 days, I couldn't talk. I started talking to myself after a while. And all of a sudden, the stress of the telephone call was lifted up. And I said, I can't do this. I can't keep quiet for 30 days. But then I said, I can. And once I said I can, then that fear, the stress of not being able to use a phone, not being able to communicate with anybody, that was lifted. And that fear of not communicating was lifted. So when you look at it, I can do it. I can do 30. Father, how could you go keep quiet for 30 days the way you're talking all the time? Well, I can do it. Not that I can't do it, but I can. If you go in with the the attitude, oh, I can't do it, then the fear is great. If you go in there and say, I can do this, then the starving of your fears. It depends on the words you use. Okay? Consciously focus on being at peace. Stay in the present moment. I've been preaching that for years and years. The way to be at peace is to live in the present moment. If you live in the past, which is history, that brings up anxiety. If you live in the future, that brings up worry. But the only thing to focus in order to have peace, you have to live in the present moment. I see so many people in the hospital who are having operations, people losing their toes because of diabetes. I see all those, the anxiety and fear in the people. But at the present moment, they're alive. At the present moment, they're having some water or eating. So in order to really get rid of that fear, starve the fear, is focus at being at peace. How are you at peace? By staying in the present moment. And the present moment is that my telephone number is 860-335. No, that's my, no, 860-321-7405. 860-321-7405. Did you know 90% of what we worry about never actually happens? 90% of what you worry about actually never happens. Just think about all the things you're worrying about right now. 90% of those are not going to happen. I'm worried if I get in a car, I'm going to get in an accident. I'm worried if I get late, go to work late, I'm going to get fired. 90% of the things you worry about never happen. And in order to starve your fear of worrying that something's going to happen, just let go, let go, let God. Let go, let go, let God. 90% of what you worry about never happens. And if I'm wrong, I'll give me a call at 860-321-7405. By the way, if you just tuned in, this is Father Edna Donnelly from the Father Edna Donnelly Good News Fund. You've probably seen my billboards in some place. Everybody hasn't seen them, but a lot of people have seen it. And the purpose of the billboard really is to get people to pray. Like I have one big one on 91 North, just says Jesus. I have another one that says, I love you, Mary. I have another one that says, Jesus, have mercy on me. I have another one, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, I love you. Jesus, forgive me. And it's phenomenal the calls I get because of that. And it's a parish without boundaries, like I said before. And if you'd like to get involved with that, just give me a call. Call me, not here, with 860-321-7405. But you can call me at my cell phone, or better, call me at my room, 860-761-7428. I'm always looking for new ideas for billboards, but my principle is the less the words, the better the billboard. I have one that just says Jesus, 91 North, and you could be almost a mile away and you can see it. It stands out. So you're coming along for a half a mile, you see it, you keep a quarter mile, you see it, and after a while it goes back into your subconscious. So you have Jesus on your mind all the time. So if you want to get involved with, give me some ideas, and call me at my room number, 860-761-7428. But if you want to call here at the show, call me at 860-321-7405. We're talking about starving our fears. Another one is, remember, I like this one, 90% of what you worry about never happens. Learn to say, so what? Whatever your particular fears are, just say to yourself, so what? If I feel scared, so what? I've been through this before. Big deal. So what? I find this with people with claustrophobia. They find it very hard to go to church. They find it very hard to be with people. I have a friend of mine from out of town, and she's got claustrophobia. And when she got married, only her husband and the best man and a maid of honor were there. She couldn't have any crowds. And she's in her 50s, and she still has the same fear. She's overcome with the fear of claustrophobia. She can't say, so what? Big deal. You know, so what if I feel scared? So what? I've been through this before. Big deal. So that your vocabulary has to change if you're going to starve your fears. The physical sensations of anxiety are just unpleasant, not dangerous. Remember this, and it will calm you. The physical sensations of anxiety are just unpleasant, not dangerous. Remember this, and it will calm you. You know, I'm thinking of claustrophobic people. That physical sensation of anxiety, where you feel you're going to faint and pass out, are just unpleasant. They're not dangerous. Remember this, and it will calm you. This fear of fainting. And that's all it is. An anxiety that's unpleasant, not dangerous. Remember this, and it will calm you. Now, the next one. When you are afraid and the anxiety begins to build, say, oh, big deal. This is just another bout of misfired adrenaline. That anxiety is nothing else than misfired adrenaline. When you are afraid and the anxiety begins to build, say, oh, big deal. This is just another bout of misfired anxiety. Did it ever happen to you? Okay, this is the last one. Retrain your mind by repeating positive sayings like, I have nothing to fear. I will enjoy my life. Life is good. And I feel great. Again, a positive attitude. The guy who says the bottle is half full, or the person who says the bottle is half empty. So I don't know which one you liked, these little phrases. I took them out of the book, Starve Your Fears. And if anybody would like the book, just give me a call at my room, 860-761-7428. Or when you see my billboard, call me at 860-335-2342. 860-335-2342. But 90% of what we worry about never actually happens. I know in my life, many times I'm worrying about something. I said, what are the chances of it happening? They're not very good. So why am I worrying? But we're all natural. We're all human beings. We're not robots. We're not animals. We're human beings, filled with all kinds of emotions, positive emotions and negative ones, virtues and vices, health and sickness. We really are a combination of pluses and minuses. But the minuses are the fears. The pluses is, so what? Big deal. I can handle it. It's just a challenge. And remember, 90% of what we worry about never really happens. Okay, I think I've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to tell you a few stories that you may like. Airwolf was a TV series in the early 1980s. Jean-Michael Vincent, one of the show co-stars, told TV Guide reporter, I feel like I've given the show a real short change. I don't feel I've given it 25%. When asked if this was because he didn't like the show or his role in it, the actor said, no, I was just lazy. We can all relate to Vincent's comment. We all shortchange relationships and jobs. Someone observed, it's gotten to the point where we expect a bonus or reward fulfilling what we are obliged to do. That goes to the gospel where Jesus says, you just, to the servant, you're expected to do what you're supposed to do. It's gotten to the point where we expect a bonus or reward for fulfilling what we were obligated to do. You know, you're obligated to be a good parent. You're obligated to be a good hard worker. You're obligated to be honest. You're obligated to be true. Yes, we expect a bonus for doing our job, of being a parent, a grandparent, or an uncle, or an aunt. Yes, I remember a priest telling me that he had a young seminarian working with him for the summer. And this seminarian went into the refrigerator and saw that there was no Coke there. And he says, "Where's my Coke?" The pastor said, "Why don't you go out and buy one?" Yes, we have gotten to the point where we expect a bonus or reward for fulfilling what we are obliged to do. How would we rate our performance as a family member, a worker, or a Christian? How would you rate yourself as a worker? How would you rate yourself as a family member? How do you rate yourself as a Christian? Out of our beliefs are born our deeds. Out of our deeds, we form our habits. And out of our habits, grow our character. And out of our character, we build our destiny. Yes, out of our beliefs are born our deeds. What do you really believe in? Do you really believe in Christ? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in Our Lady? Out of our beliefs are born our deeds. Out of our deeds, we form our habits. And out of our habits, grow our characters. And out of our character, we build our destiny. Yet, out of our beliefs are born our deeds. What kind of a beliefs do you have? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in yourself? I give out these crosses whenever I go. I've given out about 120,000 crosses. I'm not exaggerating, because I go by 5,000 a piece that I buy them, and if I can find one. It's just a palm cross that says, I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. And you put it in the palm, you put it in your pocketbook, whatever. I gave it to a son, he gave it to the father, and when the father died, they opened up the palm of his hand, and he had the cross, I love you, Jesus, in there. Yes, I think what you believe are born your deeds. Well, if you really believe, I love you, Jesus, then your deeds go in one direction. If you really believe that I love you, Jesus, is a belief that you truly want to live by, then your deeds follow it. But if you don't believe Jesus is God, and I love Jesus, and you disregard and throw away the cross, then your deeds will follow that too. So only a person who is truly a believer in God and follow his deeds, and his deeds gives you character. But those who do not follow God, follow Jesus or follow Mary, their deeds are different. They're more self-centered. Yes, out of our beliefs are born our deeds. Out of our deeds, we form our habits. Some people go to church. Some people don't go. Yes? And out of our habits grow our characters, and out of our character build our destiny. Again, if any of you would like to call me and give me some ideas for our billboards, call me at 860-761-7428. 860-761-7428. And thank you very much for listening, and may God bless you. And Lord, I love you more today than yesterday, less today than tomorrow. God bless all of you, and may every fear that you have be wiped away by God's love for you and your love for God. So take care and have a wonderful evening, a wonderful day, a wonderful morning, a day with God, a day with Jesus, a day with his mother. Take care, God bless you, and good night.